before the alarms were checked, before the officers reviewed the cameras, before the owners of the safe deposit boxes understood what had happened. There was only a quiet room beneath a city that had built its reputation on trust. The room was not meant to be entered by anyone who did not belong there. It sat below the streets of Antwerp, Belgium, in the heart of the city's diamond district, surrounded by offices, trading rooms, guarded streets, cameras, and doors that opened only for the right people, at the right times, with the right credentials. For years, merchants had walked into this building, carrying small packets that could be worth more than a house. They came and went with the steady confidence of people who believed the system around them worked. They believed in locks. They believed in alarms. They believed in procedures. And most of all, they believed in the vault. The vault had been built to discourage imagination. It was protected by layers of security, including locks, sensors, cameras, and a massive steel door. The kind of door that seemed to announce, quietly and firmly, that some places were simply beyond reach. And yet, on a cold weekend in February 2003, someone reached it when the building opened again. More than 100 safe deposit boxes had been disturbed. Diamonds, jewelry, gold, cash, and securities were gone. The estimated value was more than $100 million, making it one of the largest diamond robberies ever recorded. At first, the scene felt almost unreal. There were no dramatic signs of violence, no shattered windows, no loud confrontation, no chaotic street escape that people could point to afterward and say, yes, that was the moment. Instead, there was absence. Empty spaces where fortunes had been kept. Open boxes that should have remained sealed. And the strange, almost dreamlike knowledge that someone had walked into one of the most secure places in the diamond world and left with a treasure that would mostly never be seen again. This is the story of the Antwerp Diamond Heist. Welcome back to the channel. Tonight, we are going to move slowly through one of the most carefully planned robberies in modern history. A case often called the heist of the century. It is a story set not in a lonely house or on a dark road, but in a busy commercial district where value moved quietly from hand to hand every day. This is a true crime story for sleep, told in a calm and respectful way. There will be no graphic violence in this episode. The focus is on the people, the setting, the planning, the investigation, and the lingering questions that remained long after the arrests were made. As always, you can let the details pass gently. You do not need to hold every name or every date. The story will move carefully, with soft transitions, so that you can listen with your eyes closed. And tonight, we begin in Antwerp. Antwerp is a port city in northern Belgium, with a long history shaped by trade, movement, language, and wealth. Its streets have carried merchants for centuries. Its buildings hold traces of old Europe and modern commerce side by side. And near Antwerp Central Station, in a small but internationally important neighborhood, sits the Diamond District. The Antwerp Diamond District is compact, only a few blocks, but for generations it has carried a reputation far larger than its size. Diamonds from around the world have passed through this area for grading, trading, cutting, polishing, insuring, and selling. The Antwerp World Diamond Center describes itself as representing about 1,470 Belgian-registered diamond companies, and Antwerp has long been viewed as one of the most important centers of the global diamond trade. This district is not flashy in the way a movie might imagine. Much of its wealth moves discreetly. A person can carry extraordinary value in a small envelope, a folded paper, or a sealed packet tucked into a coat pocket. The streets may look ordinary to a visitor, but behind office doors and security glass, transactions of remarkable value take place. By the early 2000s, the Antwerp Diamond Center was one of the district's important buildings. It offered offices and a vault where tenants could rent safe deposit boxes. For traders and dealers, this kind of secure storage was essential. Diamonds are small, portable, and valuable. That makes them easy to move, but also difficult to protect. The vault beneath the Antwerp Diamond Center was designed to answer that problem. According to later reporting, it was protected by multiple layers of security, including a large steel door, locks, sensors, cameras, and alarm systems. Wired described the vault as having 10 layers of security, including a combination dial, keyed lock, seismic sensor, magnetic field, and other safeguards. To most people who used it, the vault represented certainty. But certainty can be studied. That is where Leonardo Notarbartolo enters the story. Notarbartolo was an Italian man from the Turin area. He presented himself in Antwerp as a diamond dealer. He rented an office in the Antwerp Diamond Center and had access to a safe deposit box in the vault. Belgian authorities later said he had rented space there long before the robbery, giving him time to observe the building, the routines, and the security systems. The Guardian reported in 2003 that he had rented an office as early as November 2000. This detail matters because the Antwerp heist was not a sudden crime. It was not a desperate act. It was not someone forcing a door in the middle of the night without knowing what waited on the other side. It was a long, patient study. In later accounts, Notarbartolo was linked to a group often referred to as the School of Turin, a loose association of Italian thieves known for skill and specialization. The names around the group can feel almost like something from fiction. Speedy, the monster, the genius, and the king of keys. These were aliases Notarbartolo later used in interviews, and not all identities were fully confirmed in public reporting. The case has always carried this unusual tension. On one side, there is the official story. A group of skilled criminals planned and carried out an enormous theft, then were undone by evidence carelessly discarded after the crime. On the other side, there is Notarbartolo's later claim that the robbery was more complicated than police believed, possibly involving an insurance-related scheme. Authorities have not confirmed that claim. It remains part of the fog around the case, a story told by a convicted participant, but not accepted as proven fact. So, as we move through the story, it is important to separate what is documented from what is alleged. Documented, the vault was robbed. Documented, more than $100 million in valuables were reported stolen. Documented, Arrests were made. Documented. Much of the stolen property was never recovered. Alleged that there was a deeper insurance conspiracy behind the event. That allegation may be intriguing, but intrigue is not the same as proof. And in true crime, especially a case filled with wealth, secrecy, and self-serving accounts, the quietest thing we can do is remain careful. The weekend of February 15th and 16th, 2003, fell around Valentine's Day. In Antwerp, as in many European cities, weekends bring a different rhythm. Offices grow quiet, footsteps thin out. The buildings that feel busy and official during the work week take on a stillness. That stillness mattered. The target was the vault beneath the Antwerp Diamond Center. To reach it, the thieves needed far more than courage. They needed familiarity. They needed timing. They needed to understand not only the physical structure of the building, but the habits of the people who protected it. The story of the heist, as reconstructed through police investigation, journalism, and later interviews, suggests that the team had prepared for years. Notarbartolo's role as a tenant helped provide legitimate access to the building. He could enter, observe, and return without drawing the same suspicion an outsider might have faced. In one account reported by Wired, Notarbartolo used concealed camera equipment during the reconnaissance phase. He was said to have photographed and studied parts of the security system while appearing to conduct ordinary business. The thieves also reportedly prepared for specific systems inside the vault. Later descriptions of the robbery include methods for avoiding or defeating sensors, cameras, and locks. Some of these details come from Notarbartolo's own account, which should be treated cautiously, because a person convicted in a case may have reasons to shape the story afterward. Still, the broader picture is clear. The thieves did not simply break in. They solved the building piece by piece. They entered during a quiet period. They bypassed security measures. They opened the vault, and once inside, they began opening safe deposit boxes. There is something strangely calm and unsettling about that image. Not a chase, not a confrontation. Just a group of people in a sealed underground room, surrounded by rows of boxes, working through the night while the city slept above them. The safe deposit boxes belonged to many different people and businesses. Inside were diamonds, gold, silver, jewelry, cash, and documents. Police later said the thieves broke into more than 100 boxes, and that there were so many valuables inside that the team could not carry everything away. This is one reason the Antwerp heist became so famous. It was not only the amount stolen, it was the contrast between the vault's reputation and the outcome. A place designed to resist intrusion had been entered. A system built in layers had been passed through. A room full of valuables had been emptied quietly enough that the full scale was only understood afterward. When the theft was discovered, the numbers began to circulate. More than $100 million. Some reports and later discussions suggested even larger possible values, depending on what was counted and how private losses were reported. But the widely cited figure remains over $100 million in stolen diamonds, jewelry, precious metals, cash, and securities. The thieves had accomplished what many people assumed was nearly impossible. But the heist itself was only half the story. The second half began with something ordinary. Trash. After the robbery, Antwerp police faced a case that was both enormous and delicate. The diamond district depended on confidence. Every hour after the discovery mattered, not only for finding the stolen valuables, but for reassuring a global network of traders that Antwerp remained secure. The investigation focused quickly on people who had access to the building. That made sense. The vault was too complex, too protected, and too specific for a random intruder. Whoever carried out the heist seemed to know the building from the inside. Leonardo Notarbartolo came under scrutiny because of his tenancy in the Diamond Center and his connection to the vault. But the critical break came from a place far away from the polished world of diamond offices. In the woods near Antwerp, police found discarded evidence linked to the robbery. Reports describe a garbage bag containing incriminating items, including food remains and documents. DNA evidence from a partially eaten salami sandwich was later connected to the case. It is a detail that has become almost symbolic. A heist planned with extraordinary care, involving a vault with layers of security, was weakened by something as simple as abandoned rubbish. The person often associated with this mistake was one of the alleged crew members, nicknamed Speedy. In later tellings, Speedy was described as anxious and disorganized, someone who scattered evidence rather than destroying it properly. Belgian police believed this figure was Pietro Tavano, though public accounts of aliases and identities can vary. The garbage did what the vault could not do. It gave investigators a trail. 5 days after the heist, on February 21st, 2003, Notarbartolo was arrested when he returned to the Antwerp Diamond Center. Others were also arrested and charged in connection with the robbery. The known convicted men included Notarbartolo, Ferdinando Finotto, Elio Donorio, and Pietro Tavano. Notarbartolo received a 10-year sentence. Several others received 5-year sentences. But the arrests did not answer everything. Most importantly, they did not bring back the diamonds. That fact sits quietly at the center of the case. The investigation had suspects. It had convictions. It had a narrative of how the vault had been compromised. But the stolen valuables largely vanished. Diamonds are difficult to trace once they are removed from their original setting or documentation. Some can be recut, some can be moved through informal channels, some may be held for years, some may disappear into private hands, and in a district built around the movement of stones. The disappearance of such a large haul raised questions that were difficult to settle. Notarbartolo later gave interviews in which he described the robbery in detail, but he also claimed that the official version was incomplete. He said he had been approached by a diamond dealer and that the robbery was connected to an insurance scam. According to that account, the vault was not as full as reported, and the public value of the stolen property was inflated. But again, this remains an allegation. Wired reported Notarbartolo's claim that he participated in a theft worth around $20 million, not the much larger figure reported by police and victims. and that he believed the event involved insurance fraud. But the same reporting makes clear that this was his version, not a proven conclusion. When a convicted thief tells a story years later, listeners have to be careful. He may be telling the truth. He may be telling part of the truth. He may be protecting someone. He may be protecting himself. Or he may be turning a criminal event into a legend. The official facts are simpler and more grounded. The vault was robbed. The losses were enormous. Evidence linked Notarbartolo and others to the crime. Convictions followed. Most of the property remained missing. And still, the legend grew. The Antwerp Diamond Heist is not unsolved in the simplest sense. People were arrested. People were convicted. Prison sentences were served. But in another sense, the case remains unresolved. The valuables were never fully recovered. One alleged participant, often referred to in accounts as the King of Keys, was never identified or captured. And the question of whether there was a deeper organizer behind the robbery has never been answered publicly in a way that satisfies every part of the story. This is why the heist continues to hold attention more than 20 years later. A solved case normally narrows with time. The facts settle. The unanswered questions shrink. The mystery becomes a record. But the Antwerp heist did the opposite. It expanded. The missing diamonds became a kind of silence at the center of the story. The arrests explained how some people were connected to the crime, but they did not explain where the treasure went. And when something worth more than $100 million disappears, people continue to imagine its path. Was the haul divided quickly? Was it moved out of Belgium? Was it sold gradually? Was it hidden? Were some stones recut beyond recognition? Did people inside the trade know more than they admitted? These questions are natural, but they should be held gently. A good mystery can tempt us into certainty. But certainty is not always available. What we can say is that diamonds are uniquely suited to disappearance. Unlike a famous painting or a historic crown jewel, many loose diamonds do not carry a visible identity to the public. They are valuable because of qualities that can be measured and documented, but they are also small enough to conceal, transport, and alter. A stolen diamond can move through many hands without announcing itself. And Antwerp, because of its role in the diamond trade, was a place where stones regularly moved in large numbers. That does not mean the legitimate trade was responsible for the disappearance. It means the environment itself made the case more complex. The insurance claim theory adds another layer. Notarbartolo's version suggested that some people may have benefited from presenting the loss as larger than it truly was. That story has obvious dramatic appeal. It turns the thief into a participant in someone else's scheme. It suggests that the official victims may not all have been victims in the same way. It creates a second crime hidden inside the first. But dramatic appeal is not evidence. Authorities did not publicly confirm that theory. No proven insurance conspiracy has replaced the official account. And so, it remains what it has always been. A claim from a man with direct involvement in the crime, but also a strong reason to complicate how others see it. In sleep-friendly true crime, we do not need to force the mystery closed. We can leave the uncertain parts where they belong. Not denied. Not exaggerated. Simply unresolved. There is a quiet lesson in the Antwerp Diamond Heist. It is not just that locks can fail. It is not just that even the most secure rooms are designed by people, and people can be studied. It is that trust, once broken, leaves a shape behind. The vault beneath the Antwerp Diamond Center was more than a room. It was a promise. A promise made to traders, merchants, insurers, families, and businesses that what they placed inside would still be there when they returned. For years, that promise held. Then, over one winter weekend, it was broken without a shout. The city above carried on. Trains arrived, streets emptied and filled again. People bought flowers, walked home, opened shops, closed doors, and slept. And below them, in a room built for certainty, someone had created absence. The men who were caught became part of the public record. Leonardo Notarbartolo became the name most closely tied to the crime. The School of Turin became part of the heists mythology. The discarded sandwich, the garbage bag, the aliases, the vault, and the missing diamonds all became pieces of a story retold again and again. But somewhere beyond the known facts, the valuables moved into darkness. Maybe they were sold. Maybe they were hidden. Maybe some passed through hands that never knew their origin. Maybe some are still locked away, silent and unrecognized. The Antwerp Diamond Heist endures because it feels precise and incomplete at the same time. It has arrests, but not recovery. It has a method, but not every answer. It has a central figure, but perhaps not the full cast. It has a beginning, a weekend, a vault, and a discovery. But its ending remains scattered, like small stones in a dark room. Hard to see, hard to trace, and almost impossible to gather back together. Thank you for listening to this calm, true crime story for sleep. Tonight's episode followed the Antwerp Diamond Heist, the 2003 robbery of the Antwerp Diamond Center vault, where more than $100 million in diamonds, jewelry, gold, cash, and other valuables were reported stolen. As you rest, you can let the details fade now. The city quiets. The streets grow still. The vault door is closed again, and the story drifts into the dark.